I want to talk about somebody that I find that's really fascinating and make a segment around it. And the person that I really find really fascinating right now is Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? Who obviously is on the road to trying to win his second title. He is currently 29 years of age. And it got me to thinking, right? Because for years we have thought about Giannis as this basketball, just, I don't know, alien unicorn is probably the better word. And this guy that, with the talent that he has, is something that we haven't seen before. And it's probably going to lend itself to a lot of titles. It felt like he was going to be the anointed one, probably take the baton from LeBron, and like this next generation and be the face of this. Now he's 29 years old, but like he only has one title, has 2 MVPs. So I did some research, guys. I looked up guys who have went on StatMuse. Shout out StatMuse. When I looked up guys who have won 2 MVPs, 1 title, with career averages of 23 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, excuse me. And that's Giannis's career averages. And guys that have fit that mold and those things. So people on this list are 13 players on this list. There's Jokic, Giannis, Steph, Duncan, Jordan, Magic, Malone, Bird, Kareem, Wilt, Russell, and Bob Pettit. Now, of those guys, Jokic and Giannis have 1 title. The other guys on that list, I'm seeing Kareem, 5, Wilt, 2, LeBron, 4. This is all before they hit 30, or this is all before they hit 30 in terms of championships. And I'm seeing that, and it makes me feel like Giannis is on that list in terms of stats, but he's not on that list in terms of championships when it's all said and done. And guys like Giannis, when they hit 30, it's not like usually when you see like a Kobe who gets the second win and gets 2 more titles. Usually you're on the downturn. We're starting to see that, I think, with Joel Embiid, and we're starting to see that with other guys. Like, does Giannis have enough time in terms of championships to reach his promise that we have all bestowed onto him as like, this is the guy, this is the unicorn, this is the guy that is going to be the multiple title winning player of this generation? Does he still have time to do that?
Yeah, he still has time to do it. Look, a lot of those names, let's say the Wilts and those dudes, the Kareems, playing until an advanced age, although Kareem did. Medicine didn't support it in the way it does now. Nutrition didn't support it. Technology within a locker room didn't support it. Travel didn't support it. So he's already got advantages there. Let's move to the next generation of bigger player that made his living in and around the paint, let's say, right? To be fair. Well, you were taking a beating every night with the Patrick Ewings and the Dale Davises and the Rick Smiths and the Dikembe Mutombos, like you name it. There was just multiple big 7-footers. And so it was punitive in there. Not just from a statistical standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, that wasn't conducive to playing long and having real longevity past a certain, expiration date. I think he has both of those things in his favor. Like, we'll just start there, right? Like, he's got advantages in both of those. And, I haven't seen a decline in Giannis's game yet. I haven't. Like, Giannis at minimum, worst case scenario, you've seen him plateau at greatness. I personally think I still see him adding things to his game. They might not translate into threes and what people want to see him do from a perimeter, but in terms of, ability to play make and understand what's happening and create for others. And I still think I see growth there. So I don't think from a physical standpoint, it's fair to say that window's closed and he can't win championships. Now, what I don't know is what happens in Milwaukee. That's not just a singular thing sometimes. Like, he can be fantastic and not win championships. Like, I don't have the answer to what that's going to look like moving forward, but I don't think that it's fair to say that Giannis is not going to have the opportunity to win more championships. There's still time.
Yeah, of course there's time. He's 29. I don't think we're going to see him play to 39 the way that LeBron is. Most guys don't do that, but he's got at least another, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, something. a lot can happen in that time. But like, I don't think about it in terms of like what Giannis himself can do, will do, how much he can evolve, although those are all important things. Like, it really is about like you're supporting your surroundings, right? It really is about like, okay, they went out and got Drew Holiday, he won a championship. They went out and swapped out Drew for Damian Lillard. They've had kind of a wonky season, but they're still in the thick of things. They could still make a run. But Dame is going to be 34 in July. Guards don't generally age as gracefully as unicorns and big men. And Dame is already showing signs of slippage. So not catastrophic signs, not dramatic, but it's there. That's not an insult. That's like it happens. He's almost 34. So the question about if we're going to judge Giannis and if we're going to do the like count the rings thing, and he's got his one, and it's about, well, can he add more? Of course he can. He will always play at a level that puts his team in the running. The question is going to be when Lillard really starts to decline, who's next? Do the Bucks have somebody else they can go get? Does Giannis force his way out? I know Bucks fans become apoplectic when you bring this up. Even when he signed this last extension, I wrote a column that day that was basically just a thought exercise. It was just about like, you can't assume anything in today's NBA where guys move around all the time, championship or no championship, love for the city or no, whatever. Like Dame said he was a Blazer for life until he didn't. Like, I'm not predicting Giannis will leave, and I'm not saying he should or that I would want him to. I hope he stays the rest of his career in Milwaukee. But if they...
But Howard, he has planted seeds that he could leave. Even over the summer, this last summer.
Yeah, very, very emphatically so before they made the Lillard trade and then before he signed his extension. But extensions don't guarantee anything in today's NBA anymore. And here, there's a really interesting what-if moment here. That's funny, actually, as it happens when I was rewatching that JJ Stephen A segment from last week. On that same show, Redick made this observation about the Nets. And we always talk about this moment through the lens of the Nets, that the Nets were, quote, this is JJ saying, a James Harden injury, a Kyrie injury, and a toenail away, meaning KD's toenail, from winning the 2021 finals. I don't know if they were actually going to win it. KD himself has said that he would have been too gassed, whatever. But let's just take that what if into consideration for a minute. Even if the Nets didn't win the championship, if Durant's toe isn't on the 3-point line and they beat the Bucks don't win the championship that year. I don't know if the Nets do, but we know the Bucks in this scenario do not. Is Giannis even still there?
Right.
Budenholzer was already under fire then. He could have been fired, 2 years earlier than he was. A lot could have changed. A lot is different for the Bucks. We talk about that through the Nets. A lot might have been different for Giannis and the Bucks if Durant's toe isn't on the line. And that's not to asterisk anything or denigrate the achievement. By the way, though, Giannis's legacy is secure. He can retire tomorrow. The dude's on the 75th anniversary team. He's a 2-time regular season MVP, a Finals MVP, 8-time, I think, 8-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defense. Like, Giannis is good. Like, no matter what happens.
But it seems like with this, the reason why I even posed the question is because it seems like even when you watch him play, he is on this other tier of all-time great, right? Like, there's the tier of the names that I just named are in the history books, are littered in the Hall of Fame. Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar are all both on that list, and LeBron and Jordan. Like, it is he is in a rare class. And when you are on that rare class, Howard, and like whether it's fair or not, you are judged by the amount of titles you get because of how great you are. And I think that is what it's just not. It's not the fairest thing, but it is what it is. That's where we are, and when we get to this point. And so, like, I think what I'm afraid of, and I'm just seeing this new crop of new players coming in that seem to be just as generational. Like, Jokic is on that list. Jokic could win another. I saw him last night. He could go over and win another title this season. Like, the Nuggets are in prime position to do that. And when they start stacking things up, it's going to be interesting how he's viewed, Roger. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's very fair. That's very fair. And to your point, if we're talking about, Wilt, Kareem, Mike, LeBron, like, I don't see his career trajectory right now at 29, unless he just starts winning them, like running them off, 2 or 3. Like, you're probably going to fall short of that particular very small list. But everybody will for the most part. I mean, those are, you're talking about, like, again, Jokic, if Jokic just starts stringing them together and you wind up with 4, that's a different conversation. But like, if I don't know that I see the Bucks as currently constituted, kind of to Howard's point, like, because it's way more than just Giannis. I don't know that I see that as like as a damn dynasty, right? And so, we'd be talking about something at least semi-dynastic if we're saying that Giannis over the course of the next 7 years is going to get himself 3 to 4 more rings. Like, I don't necessarily see that.
It's tough. I watched the Bucks yesterday, and I know they beat the Sixers, but they don't have like a pet play at all. Like, it's tough to watch the Bucks play basketball on a nightly basis, because it's just, you get the ball, you go out and run. In theory, Dame should be doing pick and roll with Giannis. Still not happening. It's just a weird team right now, man. And it doesn't seem like they have their shit together, and they have like a new coaching staff and all these things. It just seems like if he was going to reel off Howard, this, like Roger's point, it's not gonna happen with this team. And a lot of things can happen, right? There's a lot of variances, right?
Wait,
they could have a great summer.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you mean this team, the Bucks franchise, or just this version of the Bucks? This
version of the Bucks. This is not. It's not going to happen. And usually, when you have dynastic type runs, it's usually when you have a set group of a core. It's a set core that continues to win these championships. I think if this was the core going forward, it's not going to be this one that reels off the run.
So, Howard, real quick, I'll let you go. I'm sorry. What doesn't get enough, like, credit or pointing to in what happened to them is the Chris Middleton piece.
Yeah.
Like Chris Middleton, and it was injuries and age, it was a lot of things, but man, when we were talking about them like that, when they clearly looked like they had an opportunity to win a championship for a long, he was a very, very good number 2. And we'd had this debate, Logan, about when Giannis goes out in a playoff game, he can step into the number 1 role and win a playoff game.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? And so that doesn't get enough, attention, I guess, in terms of what kind of happened to but like, that was a hard piece to have that type of, decline that quickly.
Yeah. And he never, Giannis never had the luxury of, we always, Scottie Pippen's are like forever stand-in for these kinds of discussions, but he never had his Pippen, right? Like, Middleton was as close as it was going to get, and Middleton is no Scottie Pippen. No disrespect to Chris Middleton, but like, I've talked about this a lot, where in today's NBA, it can be one great player in an ensemble, right? It's Jokic and an ensemble. It's not a super team. It was Giannis in an ensemble. It was Kawhi in an ensemble in Toronto. And so it's fine, but there's more volatility that way too, because you do have less to lean on. And that was part of the point of the exercise of bringing in Dame, is that Dame, at least a version of Dame that existed in the past, would have been the best co-star Giannis has ever had. Is this version of Dame what they hoped for? Is he better than the best version they have had of Middleton in the past, or of Drew in the past? Like, so like that's the issue here, right? And when we talk dynasty, what's a dynasty? It's just consistency, right? Consistency at the very, very highest level. We didn't just win a championship; we won multiple in a short span. That consistency exists if you've got, as Logan noted, a core that you have been with for a while. And the Bucks, like, the core of the core has been together for a bit. But usually it's also because you got one other guy, Michael and Scotty, Shaq and Kobe for as long as it lasted. LeBron and Dwayne Wade, it was only 4 years, but, and that's not a dynasty, they won 2. But, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and for a while, KD. You've got to have a lot of talent for a duration of time. And like, if it falls apart as it's been slowly eroding in Milwaukee, there's only 2 options. Either they scramble and somehow fix it and find a way to get Giannis a true number 2, or a bunch of, high level role guys, or he leaves. And it's way too early to have that discussion, by the way, but like, that's, that is often how these things go.
Mm-hmm. How important is it, with that being said, how important is this season for the Bucks and Giannis? Because there was so much volatility going on this season with the Doc Rivers move, with the initial move to part ways with Bud, to the trade. It seems like there's a lot of pressure on this season from the Bucks and beyond. Like, how much do you see that, Raj? Like, how much pressure is on this team with everything that we just said for this team to actually make a deep run and ultimately a title?
A huge amount of pressure. I mean, there's a huge amount of pressure on the Bucks to be very formidable in the playoffs. You've got Giannis chasing, like all the names that we just talked about. He's in the prime somewhere in that window is wide open. We talk about windows being wide open with guys like LeBron, and whenever you get them, you're in championship now kind of mode. Giannis is in that, conversation. You want to make sure that both he and Dame feel like this can work, and having some level of success, or a high level of success, in the playoffs is going to be critical to that. You don't want either one of those dudes coming towards the end of this season. Now that's provided you think that's the answer, Giannis and Dame, right? Like, that's provided that as a franchise, you're still looking at those two like they're going to get you home. Now, behind closed doors, you might already said, hey, that this isn't working. I'm not behind those doors, so I don't know. But I think it's critical for them to have success in the playoffs. Now, I don't know that they have to absolutely win a championship, but this can't fall apart. And we talked about this last pod, Logan. If the wheels start falling off, this is a catastrophe. You know what I mean? Like, there are not many places you could go at that point. You need stability, and you need to play well in the playoffs for this team. Not saying that it has to be a championship, but it's critical that they play well.